We've helped thousands of students to pass the SBL exam. We've seen what really works, and we've also seen what doesn't from students who failed elsewhere and come to study with us. So here are our brutal truths, our best lessons that are going to help you to have the best chance of SBL exam success. And keep watching right till the end, because the best one comes last.
Lesson 1. Technique is key. So we've seen loads of students who come to us having failed SBL and they say, but I know everything. I learnt the entire textbook that's 1,000 pages long. How can I not pass this exam? And the truth is, it's not really about theory. It's not about just learning the knowledge. It's about your technique and your application. Application is way more important than just knowing the theory. So what you need to do is focus on practicing your techniques and the application of the scenarios in order to actually pass the exam. And that's why in Club SBL, we really focus on that technique. We're not a course that's all about just learning theory. We really build on that technique. And we have these 6 skills areas that we work on and we practice so that students are fully prepared to tackle any question on exam day.
Lesson 2, planning is vital. Now, what I've seen with many students is they say they don't have time to plan. It's too time pressured. I can't do this extra thing and then answer the question. But actually, planning is a core part of your technique. It's one of the 6 key skills that we use at Club SBL. And by building planning in as part of your overall technique for each question, you actually save time. And you save time by having a really robust approach, a robust structure, and you can write much more briefly if you know what the content of your answer is going to be by having planned first. So you need to practice early on in your question practice. You need to be practicing that technique of planning so it becomes second nature, it becomes muscle memory by the time you do the exam.
Lesson 3 is don't be clever. Now, we've had some ridiculously smart students come to us having failed their exam saying, I just can't pass this exam. I work in this really high-end job. I'm super smart. I've got this amazing degree, but I just can't get through the SBL exam. And the fact is, you don't need to be super clever with your answers. Some students bring in loads of real-world examples. They're trying to overcomplicate what is actually a relatively straightforward exam if you want it to be. So there's no need to bring in loads of articles that you've read recently and loads of research you've done. Just use the scenarios, use the exhibits, and keep it simple, and that's absolutely fine. And that's why we write our answers in Club SBL to be really straightforward. Students are always going, like, Ben, is that actually enough to score marks? Like, that seems so straightforward. Like, is that not too easy? You go, no, that's exactly what you need to do. You don't need to be bringing in loads of other stuff. Keep it simple, and you'll score good marks.
Lesson 4, copying the scenario doesn't work. So I saw this with our first group of students we had at Club SBL. We were marking lots of their work. A lot of them were repeating facts on the scenario, but they're not scoring any marks for it. And the reason for that was they're just repeating back what the examiner's already told them. That doesn't show understanding. What you have to do is use the scenario facts. You have to add value. You had to add depth. The reason the students were doing that, repeating the scenario, is because we're telling them you can't write a generic answer. Your answer has to be tailored. But a tailored answer doesn't mean just quoting the name of the company or quoting facts. The tailored answer means using the scenario, using the facts to add depth and context to your points. And again, that's something you need to be practicing from early on in your studies. Don't copy and paste. Use the information to write more depth into your answer.
Lesson 5 is that the models in SBL can be dangerous. So, see loads of students who think if they just learn all of the various models, and there are so many of them in the syllabus, that they're going to pass the exam. They think if I just know all these models, I'll be able to recite them in the exam and that's fine. But actually, in the SBL exam, if you recite models, and the examiner has said this, you will score 0 marks. If you just churn out a model and you just recite it, you're not going to get anything. Because what do you need to do? You need to be thinking about the scenario. You need to be thinking about application. And a lot of the time, you can earn marks without even using the model. The models are like a framework for you. Yeah, if you think about a classic Mendelow's matrix or a pestle, you could talk about those things without really mentioning that, or the BCG matrix, you can still earn loads of marks. You don't have to use it. So the models are there to help you, but don't obsess with them. Now, when you are using models, and if you are practicing them, it is great to think about that application. Don't just ever learn a model, right? This is the model, brush, 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 brush. Think, how could that look in a company? So in our course, when I'm doing the theory, every model that we look at, we use a real world company and then practice how it actually looks in a company, which makes it more fun and also makes it much more realistic for the exam.
Lesson 6, pre-learning doesn't work. SBL has a pre-seen document, gets released 2 weeks before the exam, and many students memorize the whole thing. And I mean, there can be some value in that. It's not that long, and so you can kind of go, oh, well, that means that I'm all over the company, right? I'm all over the scenario, I'm all over the industry. But the dangerous thing that students do, as well as learning it, is they form too strong an opinion of what's going to come up in the exam, and they pre-write answers. If this thing gets tested, then I will write this in my answer. And the problem is that the details you're given in the scenario in the exam will be very specific and different to what you have pre-prepared. So even if the thing you've pre-prepared comes up exactly, the company does do an overseas acquisition, the details of the company they're buying and the country they're moving into and all the issues around it will be very specific and precise to that scenario. You have to respond to those details rather than the stuff that you pre-learned. So pre-learning, very, very dangerous for SBL, and I recommend you avoid it entirely.
Lesson 7 is don't miss the requirement. So I have seen some student answers when we've been marking them and they look beautiful. They've applied all of their knowledge. They're using the scenario and it's structured really well, exactly like we've been teaching them. And at first glance, you think, oh, this looks good. I'm excited to mark this one. This looks brilliant. And then you start reading it and you think, hang on a minute. They've actually answered something slightly different. Now, it may well be that they have pre-learned it, as Ben was just saying, or maybe they've just slightly misread what the requirement was or answered the question they thought or they wanted rather than actually what's set in the exam. The truth is, if you don't answer the requirement, you're not going to score marks. So practicing that and really breaking down that requirement is great. And a great thing for you to do is to read the requirement at least a couple of times. Just make sure you're doing it. And also use subheadings. Break down those requirements, especially the ones that have got lots of little bits to them. Those complicated requirements that have got 3 or 4 parts. Use subheadings to make sure you're doing that. And whenever I'm writing up my answers to questions, I'm constantly checking back to that requirement. Just constantly checking, am I answering what it says? And if I'm not, I need to make sure I'm just steering back on track because I've seen some brilliant answers get 0 because they haven't quite answered the requirement.
Lesson 8, the marker is the most important person in the world. I've actually been an exam marker in the past and I've been an examiner. And I can tell you that students who fail, it's often very obvious that they haven't thought about the marker at all. Often the ones who pass and score very high marks, they're trying to make the marker's life easy. They're trying to make it easy for you to award them credit. They do things like Andrew just mentioned about having a nice structure and subheadings that link back to the specific requirement. They explain how they're answering the actual question. They use simple language that's easy for you to understand. And the biggest one, they leave space. They leave a gap after each point so that for the marker, it's really obvious. Yeah, okay, that was one point. Now they're on to another point. I'll consider that to be worth credit separately. They're just playing the game. Now, from having been an examiner, I can tell you that many students don't do that. And so that is something we really try to build into our course in the skills that we teach you, but also when we're reviewing your work and giving you feedback on how to improve, we're saying things like, look, as a marker, if you phrased it like this, you'd score more credit for it because you're thinking about the marker and making their life more easy.
Lesson 9 is only move in one direction. I've seen students who are writing great answers and then suddenly they seem to run out of time. They were like, whoa, hang on, where's the rest of your answer? What's happened? And I'll leave them a video note as we do, and I'll say, oh, hi, great attempt. This was great. This was brilliant. But you didn't quite finish it. Why didn't you manage to finish the question? And quite often they'll say, oh, I spent too long going back over it. I was rereading what I'd written and I was rephrasing some of those things. No. So you cannot do that. In this exam, it's all about just keep moving, just keep going, no matter what. So there is only one direction. Don't look back. And I know you're going to say in anger, right? In anger, don't look back. You just need to keep moving. Now, they can't
stop
take
me now.
marks off you. Yeah, there's no, don't stop me now. Yeah, that's it. All these song titles. The key thing is just keep going. Don't go back and reread it. Don't go back and change spelling mistakes. Even if you can see perfectionism is overrated in these ACCA exams. You've just got to keep moving. And if you do that, you're going to be fine.
Totally. Adding one more bit of content in, one more point, as I'm doing now, is much more valuable than going back and polishing a previous one. Right, the moment you've all been waiting for. It's the big one. The best one is lesson 10, and question practice to time is best. The number one thing you can be doing to boost your chances of passing this exam is doing questions against the clock. So many students who fail SBL don't do any questions to time, or they only do it right at the very end. And so time management isn't a core part of their preparation. And then in the exam, under the time pressure, they fall apart. They go to pieces. They don't deliver and get the mark that they deserve. Now, something we build in very early into our course is doing questions against the clock. Everyone hates it. Students hate doing it. But it's a bit like eating your greens or doing exercises, eating your vegetables. It's good for you. Right, really good for you, because you're developing the strategies and techniques you need to be able to cope with that time pressure. In the exam, it feels normal. You cope with it and you deliver at your best and you get the mark you deserve. So the lesson is, or the thing you need to be doing differently, is question practice to time from early on in your studies. Really important. So those are our 10 brutal truths to help you to pass the SBL exam. Now, we've been mentioning all the way through that we run our own courses for SBL. And if you want to join us to give yourself the best chance of success, where we'll be showing you the 6 vital skills you need to pass this exam and giving you loads of personalized guidance and support, marking your work. Andrew mentioned giving you those video feedback notes after your assignments. Then you can come and join us at Club SBL, check out our website, and we'd be delighted to help you to pass this exam.